It's that time of the year again. What's good everyone, I'm Og, and today we're going to be taking a look at Shaiya in 2025. So for those who see my previous videos already, I will go ahead and save you some time. Has Shaiya improved since my last video? Sort of. Is it still heavy on pay to win? Yes. Are they still recycling the same stuff as new content? Yes. Should you play it? Only if you got money, and I mean a lot of money. If you're paying for mortgage or living on rent, horrible at life choices and can't track where your money went, Shaiya is probably not a game for you. So let's start with gameplay. When it comes to gameplay, starting off on Shaiya is no different from other MMORPGs. You choose a faction of light or fury with 6 classes to pick from. Depending on the side you choose, you'll be thrown into the respective region. After creating your avatar, Shaiya is mainly about grinding mobs and completing outdated quests where players can go from A to B to talk to an NPC, kill something, or collect some stuff. As you progress, you'll be introduced to newer and stronger monsters with better experience. So with the typical MMORPG stuff out of the way, Shaiya has 2 modes for players to pick from between basic and ultimate mode. Between the 2 modes, ultimate mode is definitely the one you want to go for because basic mode is practically useless later on as they are much weaker in stats and missing game-changing skills. However, with ultimate mode, there is one major drawback, and that is deletion upon death if you don't have a resurrection rune. Back in the day, ultimate mode was like a paid subscription on this free-to-play game. If you want to be the best, you gotta pay the devs. However, in present day, playing ultimate mode is not really much of an issue as players can literally AFK farm for currencies to buy resurrection runes. So if you're actively grinding and collecting rewards, playing ultimate mode without having to pay shouldn't be as big of an issue as before. And so as you grind, Shaiya doesn't really offer anything in between besides a few dungeons and directions. There's no story, cutscenes, or even mini games, so you're essentially just grinding for max level and money to prepare for your endgame. But for those who wants to know the story or lore of Shaiya, it goes like this. There was once a goddess by the name of Etain. She got betrayed by her people and then got slain. Her soul had split, then war had hit, and that's pretty much the end of it. If you're interested to know the full story, check out this video either at the end or link in the description. Content. When it comes to content, Shaiya pretty much boils down to farming and cash shopping with the sole purpose of being able to fight the opposite faction. Why do skins and costumes give you stats? PvP. What's the most fun activity over everything else? PvP. What do you get from Castella's mom? HIV. Point is, when it comes to content on Shaiya, everything revolves around PvP. Whether you're grinding for the new and endgame gear or paying for the best recycled costume of the year, it is all for the sake of getting advantage over the other players. So just how much grind is there? And how much does Shaiya really recycle? Well, to take a look, let's start with the grind. I used to be a hardcore no life whale on this game. For those who's not familiar, I used to have 5 maxed out characters and 5 more semi-maxed out characters. Not only did I spend loads of money and time on each character, but I've also regretted each one because now they're outdated. You now got better accessories, better weapons, better lapis, better bonus stats, better things that never even existed before. Anyways, point is, new stuff, lots of grind. But for those who's interested just to know how much grind, well, it's about months, possibly years if you don't want to pay for cash shop. So with that being said, let's move on to recycling. When it comes to recycling on Shaiya, it's kind of like a cheap circumcision because almost everything feels like a ripoff. Even till this day, a lot of new costumes you see in game are just old costumes painted different. If you want new pets or mounts, you can pretty much see where they got their designs from. So with that being said, please keep in mind I am not against recycling because everyone does it. But when it comes to Shaiya on Fox, charging $250 for an old costume painted with different colors can really make you feel like getting your earrings robbed because at the end of the day, it's still a ripoff. Now, for those who haven't caught up, I just recycled the same joke I used earlier about getting ripped off. So what I'm trying to get at is, I am all for recycling, but it really depends on the effort. For what it's worth, changing the color and adding a slight tweak into a costume just isn't worth the amount they ask for. Performance. When it comes to performance for Shaiya, it is still very buggy and outdated. If you have the intended graphics on like pets, cosmetics, and effects, Shaiya is still pretty much borderline unplayable, especially in large groups or PvP due to how laggy it can be. But for those who are interested in only PvP, which is pretty much what Shaiya is all about, turning off every feature to the lowest setting can actually be playable even in large scale battles. So just what kind of bugs and outdated features are there? Let's start with the cash shop. For a heavily pay to win game, you would think that their cash shop will be as smooth as the buttered up deaf guy from Family Guy, but no, it's actually smooth like John Cena because you can't see it. Wanna see how the phoenix looks before you buy it? It's a monkey. Wanna try to see what a Zun is? It's a monkey. Spent your rent on Fox again? You fucking donkey! So besides the cash shop, other bugs and outdated features would include visual glitches of characters disappearing, player screen going completely black, still no splitting options, dialogue still not translated from 2008, and many other quality of life inconveniences. Community. Now this is usually the part of the video where I talk about the Shaiya community and what it's like, but since I'm no longer part of the community thanks to this butt munch, I can only speculate. So without further delay, getting to understand the Shaiya community is kind of like identifying the blind guy at a nude beach. It's not hard. Players can be quite prideful, and talking smack is more common than a drug anonymous meeting. In my previous video, I've talked about the types of players, which were PvPers, farmers, PvP farmers, and everything else, but there's actually another type of player at this point that should get its own category, and that is the cash whales. No disrespect to their names, these players are the sole purpose of why Shaiya managed to stay alive for almost 2 decades. To give you an idea of just how much players put into Shaiya, my guildmate here nearly dropped $800 on a singular item that doesn't even show on your character. It's literally just an item to boost your stats to gain an advantage in PvP. I could have covered my groceries for the month with that kind of money. Oh, and on top of this, there's actually a category I've never mentioned that always existed, and those are bots. Now, I'm no expert, and I'm not saying for sure that this guy here is definitely a bot, but this guy has been farming the same mobs here since 2 days ago. What's the purpose? Could a player really be enjoying themselves by clicking on the same enemies over and over? What is there to gain? Is the EXP even worth it at this point? How could someone possibly find this fun? But then again, I do crap like this on RuneScape, so who am I to judge? Pay to win. To say that Shaiya is a pay-to-win game, at this point it's pretty much an understatement, because everything else is just as expensive, if not even more. Back when I was considered max out on just one of my characters, the estimated cost was nearly $1,000 if you were trying to max out by the books and not resorting to the black markets. However, with today's prices, the new offhand item alone could cost nearly around $300 to $800. So if you were to max out an equipment set from scratch without the black markets, you're easily looking at roughly around $1,400 or more just to play on an unfair playing field, even when you do max yourself out. So some of you may be wondering, how the hell does that work? Even if I put my rent in for the month, I'm somehow still going to be weaker? Well, that's because of ranking. When I first dived into this whole ranking system, I didn't think it would be that much of a game changer. But then I looked deeper into it and realized that players with higher ranks actually get a big significant advantage with a few hundred extra stat points the higher their ranks are. Now, of course, this mainly applies for endgame PvP, because in Shaiya there's actually lower level zones as well where players can't really use their stat points. Only downside to it, it's full of cheaters and still very heavily on pay to win. Development. So if you've been watching me for a while now, you may or may not remember that Shaiya had multiple owners. When Shaiya first started off, Shaiya was owned by Area Games and then later Nexon. After Nexon, it was Gamigo, and now it's owned by Fox. Out of the 4 owners, Gamigo was probably the worst one, as they tend to literally scam the players with fake events that never deliver what was promised. So what did Fox do for Shaiya? Let's start with the economy. Back in the day, the item pricing was a huge issue, as a lot of things were overpriced due to gold sellers. So to counter this issue, Fox changed the currency from gold alone to copper, silver, and gold instead. But unlike the traditional values of 100 copper to 1 silver and 100 silver to 1 gold, Shaiya made it pretty confusing, which is kinda good, I guess. Anyways, to not waste your time, we'll be only going through the major developments in Shaiya, starting with lag. Since Fox took over, Shaiya has made a significant progress on reducing lag, making Shaiya a lot more playable. Besides that, Fox also made multiple class balancing to PvP and some long needed quality of life improvements of being able to transfer quest items. So if you made it this far into the video already, it's time to ask yourself, is Shaiya really worth playing? Does it even meet today's standards? And why do I keep making videos for this game I wouldn't even recommend? Well, to answer you truthfully, it's nostalgia. I grew up playing Shaiya and I've met some of the most amazing people on it. From the outgoing American to the down-to-earth Dutch, from the elegant British to the friendly Polish and such, these people are what make Shaiya special to me. If it weren't for these players, I would have never been able to make content for this game. So, should you actually play Shaiya? Hell no, you know how many games I could have bought?